there's two reasons why I find SMART goals infinitely important for anyone that's trying to really make progress. SMART goals help us tie ourselves a little bit more into the actionable steps that need to take place in order to achieve, say, the bigger goal. And an easier way to kind of thinking about this is that it helps us see how in the short term we're getting paid. When I talk to clients, I always will talk to them and I'll walk them through this whole idea of getting paid. Because if I'll question them and say, like, well, if you went to your job and you didn't get paid, how long would you stay at that job? Most people's answer is not very long, and the thing is their boss could be like, oh, I promised you a big house. But again, if you see nothing in the short term, if you see no salary coming in, you're gonna get skeptical. And SMART goals, in my opinion, are like, that's the easiest way to kind of look at these. It helps you to break down your big goal and to figure out in the short term, like, well, how are you making progress? Welcome to Integrative Approaches in Healthier Living, a collaboration of Living Life Now and Bush Health Coaching, where we have conversations for living well.
Welcome back into another episode of Integrative Approaches in Healthier Living. I'm Tami Tomlinson here today again with Coach Chris Bush, and we are going to pick up where we left off with stages of change and transition into when you can start applying your SMART goal concept. So, Chris, with that thought process, you want to bring us back to stages of change where we dropped off and move forward?
Yes, absolutely. So in the previous episode, we were talking a bit about mainly the first two stages of change, which are pre-contemplation and contemplation. We also talked about T-bar in using or applying the T-bar, or how Tami likes to call it, pros and cons.
Yes. T for Tami.
Tami was like, see Tami in my side vision, like, doot. But excellent tool. I'm not going to really get into it much here, but if you haven't seen that video yet, I would highly recommend going back and checking that video out. It's amazing video, gives a lot of great tools if you find yourself in a position where you're trying to go from where you are not doing anything, or you're questioning whether you should do something, and trying to tip that balance towards either action or just self-discovery, trying to figure out like what's best for you and separate like maybe what you feel you should do versus the people or the environment around you is kind of leaning you towards. So, but today we are going to start addressing not pre-contemplation or contemplation. We're going to start moving into the stages of change, which are called preparation and action. And we're going to talk a bit about how SMART goals play into that and how they can help you. So just as a really quick refresher on stages of change, the first two stages of change are pre-contemplation, and pre-contemplation would be a stage of change where the person finds themselves in a position where they don't really feel like they need to change. So they don't have a reason for it. The other way I define this one personally, because as a coach, I find a lot of times people come to me and they don't really feel like they need to change, but a doctor or say a loved one has made them feel they need to change. And so I would still define that person as a person that is in pre-contemplation, because they really don't have a personal reason as to why it matters or why it should matter to them. The second stage is going to be contemplation, and the contemplation person is the person that has started to develop reasons for why they should change. They haven't started taking any actions yet. They may not even started to what we call prepare, which is the next stage of change. They're just starting to see the reasons why. They could see some of the benefits. They're starting to attach themselves to maybe an outcome. Now, preparation is defined as the stage of change where a person's going to find themselves actively starting to maybe take some actions. So whether they're going out and getting a gym membership, or maybe trying to just make better food choices whenever they go to the store, they're taking some actions, but they're not really doing it in a planned way. It's just, it's kind of like doing a little bit over here, doing a little bit over there, but there's nothing really concrete with it. The next one after that is action. This is really where, SMART goals and applying SMART goals becomes very relevant. So action is a person that has come out of that preparation stage, and that particular person has a plan of action. They have things that are kind of set in motion, things that they're consistently doing, and they're following through with those things on a regular basis. So that's action. Now, one thing that Tami and I talked about, and we're going to kind of jump into now, and what we want to talk about today is a little bit of like, okay, how can we apply what we've already learned to, say, leave preparation and move towards action? And how does SMART goals apply or kind of mix with this? And what's the benefit of SMART goals? So that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to Tami for just a little bit, because I'm sure she has a few words that she would like to say before I keep rambling on.
So if we tie back into real quick why, you touched on that just a moment ago, why. And we also discussed it in the last episode that we did, which the link will be in the description. And so our why, when we know our why, when we have a burning desire, a burning why, and it's going to be different for everybody and for every situation and circumstance. So real quick, I would love to know if any of our listeners have learned their why in life, or, maybe through trial and tribulation. Drop it in the comments for us and share what your why is. And it'll be interesting to learn how we're learning and how we're growing and evolving as people who are looking to create change for the better in our lives. So a SMART goal for people in general is SMART is specific. Your goal has to be specific. SMART is an acronym, and the letters stand for specific, measurable, actionable or achievable, relevant, and
time bound.
Yeah. And for me, I wrote out my SMART goals. I have them here in front of me. What I did is, because I've been trying to work on a book for 5 years now, maybe. And I tinker with it here and there. And whenever I have time, or when I think I have time, right? I let life circumstances and situations slow me down from achieving that goal. So I, in conversation with Chris on talking about our SMART goals, I was like, oh, that is a perfect thing for me to use as an example, and for myself as a SMART goal. So because I have been working on the book, I gave myself another 6 months to finish what I want to accomplish, enough to get it to a draft that I can start sharing with people so they can, review it for me. Edit is probably the best word for that. But yeah, so knowing your why, and why do I want to get this book done? Because it's my canine chakra yoga, right? I want to get that out into the world so that other people can start enjoying more time with their own pups. And you could do it with a cat too, or a bunny, or whatever. We all have chakras. So my why is, I really, 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 really want to get this done. And it's for me. It's just a personal goal that I have. And I think that's where we all are in lives. We need to get to a point where we want to make change happen. And as you said, Chris, it could be with our diet. It could be with exercise. Once you get through your pros and cons to learn whether you're on the right path for yourself, Then you can move to, yes, I'm ready to make this change. And what are the goals that I need to implement and within a time frame to make these things happen?
One thing I find as a coach, and and talking to the viewer and also to you, Tami, is that one of the biggest things with coaching is people will set what I call unrealistic goals, or they'll set their end goal as, okay, this is my goal, right? But the thing is that would be like a person setting, I'm going to buy a house as their goal, but not having like the steps written out, to get there,
Right.
and that comes back to like the salary you need to make, the job that you need to work to make the salary, and oftentimes there's two reasons why I find SMART goals infinitely important for anyone that's trying to really make progress. SMART goals help us tie ourselves a little bit more into the actionable steps that need to take place in order to achieve, say, the bigger goal. And an easier way to kind of thinking about this is that it helps us see how in the short term we're getting paid. When I talk to clients, I always will talk to them and I'll walk them through this whole idea of getting paid. Because if I'll question them and say, like, well, if you went to your job and you didn't get paid, how long would you stay at that job? Most people's answer is not very long, and the thing is their boss could be like, oh, I promise you a big house. But again, if you see nothing in the short term, if you see no salary coming in, you're gonna get skeptical. And SMART goals, in my opinion, are like, that's the easiest way to kind of look at these. It helps you to break down your big goal and to figure out in the short term, like, well, how are you making progress? And so like in that case, it allows you to say, like, break down that house. Or like if we're talking about, your health, okay, so I need to improve my blood pressure numbers, or I need to reduce my cholesterol. Okay, well, what's going to help you do that? Well, my doctor says if I lose weight, if I lose just 5% of my body weight over the next 6 months, that'll make a significant difference. Okay, well, how are we going to lose 5% of the body weight? And so we keep coming back to, okay, now what's the actions? All right. So, okay, then I need to increase my activity. I need to maybe make some changes with my eating. All right. So we're honing down our big goal into the smaller steps that it takes to fulfill each part leading up to that big goal.
Bite-sized chunks, right? I mean, no
Bite-sized
pun
chunks.
intended really with dieting, but it kind of, I think SMART goals kind of helps us to take things one small bite at a time, right?
Right.
We have this big, huge, enormous goal to accomplish, but SMART goals help us take it down so that it's a piece by piece, chunk by chunk,
Absolutely.
type of achievable, attainable goal, really.
Right. Yep. So to use the same example, since we're already going down this road with the doctor. So I'm working with somebody and we've determined that they need to, like, increase their activity and maybe make some eating changes. So to kind of get the ball started for today, we'll just say, let's focus on activity. So that's an easier one to take a look at. So I'm going to have them maybe set an activity goal. Well, we want it to be measurable. So because if something's not measurable in the future, well, any results that come from it, like we don't know how much of something it took to produce this outcome. And so we want to be able to kind of know that, because then it allows you to, the person that has the goal, to know, well, this activity equals this, just like your job. You showing up at certain hours during the week and performing a certain function results in a certain paycheck. So same thing holds true here. You, in this case, we can say, oh, we'll call our John Doe and say that our John Doe decided that he's going to walk for 50 minutes a day, and
50,
he's
50 or 15?
50,
Okay.
50,
Okay.
50 minutes a day.
Okay.
And he's going to do that for, we'll just say like 4 days out of the week, not every day, just 4 days out of the week. So what we've covered here now is we have a measurable action. So first we have something that's specific, and we have something that's measurable. And we can say one, which the action oriented and achievable, so it's something that he can do. It's relevant.
To let me jump in real quick.
Right.
Whatever that ends up being, you have to agree or understand that you can achieve that, right? So like 50 minutes a day,
right,
4 days a week might not be realistic for some people. So whatever we put on our paper, it has to be something that we feel is realistic for ourselves to achieve.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's relevant, of course, because it's relevant to his bigger goal. And then we have time bound. So he's going to do this 4 days a week. So, and like the other one that we can also do that's very easy, and we also want to look at, is weight. We need to measure the weight, the outcome, figure out. So this is also another one. So I'm going to, in this case, we can say, oh, John Doe, how are you going to measure this? Oh, I have a scale. I can step on my scale 2 times a week on Tuesday and Thursday, weigh myself, and determine the average every week. Again, it's another SMART goal. It's specific, it's measurable, it's action oriented and attainable. It's relevant, it's time bound. Big one, time bound. Because then this paints a picture for you. You can see, oh, I do this, I get this result. And that result is a small piece of the overarching goal. So if he, with that walking, he, is losing quarter pound a week or whatever. And that means he's going to be losing, say maybe 1 pound a month, well, that's 6 pounds out of his total weight in 6 months. We can make up a weight for him, if he's 100 pounds, if he's 200 pounds, then that would be, what would that be? Maybe 5, 10 pounds. So we'd have to figure out something a little bit more than that, but if, he weighs say 150 pounds, then he's right on point, so that's kind of the thought process there. Everything leads to the bigger goal. Everything's relevant to the bigger goal, but we break it down piece by piece, little by little, to kind of create a measurable, something we can follow towards the greater goal that will keep us and help us stay motivated and see how our actions, our small actions, contribute to a larger picture. Yep. All right, guys. Well, we would love to hear from you. So if you have any questions at all, please drop them in the comments below.
And I'm going to interject. Sorry, not to cut you off real quick, but I'd love to know if any of the listeners have done and used SMART goals for themselves.
Maybe next time we should also get into adjusting your SMART goals. How to work with that,
or when life gets in the way. So. Thank you for listening. Sorry, Chris, I cut you off, but I just wanted to interject.
Not a problem at all.
Quick, and
yep.
May you all be well. Thank you. Check out the other videos in our link and descriptions below, and We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much. Chris, anything else you'd like to say?
Nope, that's all. See you guys.
Fantabulous. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. Integrative Approaches in Healthier Living. Be well.